So today with my first guest, I'm going to be talking all about AI and especially issues pertaining to creative iteration, data-driven decision-making, the age-old question of balancing human creativity with AI. And helping me to answer all these questions, we have the resident expert on AI, Sam Wallace, head of sales at BLKBOX.ai. Sam, welcome to the studio. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
And admittedly, I have a lot to learn in this space too. So I'm excited to get your thoughts on some of the questions I'm going to be asking you. So just kicking things off, how does BLKBOX.ai sort of ensure that creative ideation is aligned with data-driven decision-making to maximize campaign success? How do you get those best results?
That is a very, very good question. And I think to tackle that, we first and foremost have to get into the mind of the user when it comes to ideation. And I think one of the challenges is that we are in this copycat ecosystem, and 70% of users' time, 70% of UA's time or creatives' time is typically spent on making iterations. That only leaves 30% for new ideas, new concepts, new strategies. And when it comes down to, again, that data-driven ideation, we have to try and identify what is it that is actually resonating with the user at that time? Because obviously interests change daily. One day they like this, one day they like that. And we very much need to understand to kind of maximize campaign success is what is it that's going to resonate from an ideation perspective at that time.
And, you know, testing and iteration are two very crucial parts of performance marketing. That goes without saying. How does BLKBOX.ai sort of use AI to optimize ad creatives and scale efficiently as well?
So that's quite an interesting question, because obviously we do work with quite a lot of large and small studios. And one of the common things that you see is the fact that there really is no structure for creative testing. You might have a UA manager or a UA team aligned to a game, but across a company, there is no standard structure, which typically means that the structure is born out of convenience. It's not born out of data. It's not born out of actual, I suppose, goals. It's just simply convenience. And realistically, when you look at it, what we see is 95% of creatives fail. So trying to find that top 5% is very, very difficult. And on a day-to-day basis, what typically happens is that, let's just say you create 50 creatives, you'll have a campaign, you'll have many ad sets, and you'll put each and every creative within these ad sets. So typically then what happens is that you'll put it onto, let's say, Meta, and then it's the ad auction that actually decides what's going to win. So you have no control over the spend or what the outcome is going to be. And typically then what runs first runs fastest. So that's how you identify your winner. So you've invested a lot of money into creatives, into actual testing, but you're not getting a fair data set back to actually truly understand, is something going to work and is it not going to work? So we need to align, again, creative testing to that user behavior, building the creatives and launching them into creative testing. But that structure of convenience doesn't actually give you a true data set to understand what's going to work, what's not going to work. And as said, users' interests, they change daily, which means typically the go-to-market is very much a case of we've tested, let's build out a new creative, a new ideation, new creative, and then launch a new iteration. And that go-to-market, typically takes a few weeks' time. So what BLKBOX's AI is able to do is very much reduce that go-to-market down within 48 hours, because we can identify within a very, very small space of time what is interesting for that user at that given moment, and then use the AI to rapidly, again, go to market faster.
So Sam, on the topic of sort of standardization, how does BLKBOX help standardize and refine the iteration process to make sure that things are actually data-driven and not just guesswork?
So that's a good question. I think first and foremost, the issue is the fact that the definition of an iteration is very, very broad. And we think that a winning iteration needs to be born out of data. So leveraging the data to improve engagement curves, improve retention rates, improve CPIs. It has to be purely data driven. It can't just be changing a background or a color just because you perceive that to be what an iteration is. So yeah, if you test 50 creatives and have a standardized data set, and we can start to understand, okay, so across those 50 creatives, these are the hooks, these are the call to actions, these are the assets, whatever it might be within those creatives that are resonating with users and driving performance. And what we can then use with the AI or leverage the AI to do is build out iterations based off of that. So using performance data to make a new qualitative story. So what that does is essentially move away iterations based off of just random decision making, and a go-to-market, which typically takes weeks, because again, once you start making those iterations, you're just kind of thinking and seeing what's going to work here, what's going to work there. Again, it's extending out that go-to-market. So we can use the AI to rapidly, again, take the performance data, build out a new story, and launch that within minutes.
Interesting. So I want to go on to tips. So if someone from a studio might be watching this and thinking, this sounds really interesting, I want to get involved, but where do I start? So what sort of key data points should studios be looking at to sort of refine the iteration process to make it both efficient and effective? Where should they start?
So I think this is, again, where the challenge lies. And there's kind of two folds to this. So you've got obviously the iteration itself, but you also have creative testing. So where are you getting that data from? And the other challenge is the fact that audiences are unique. So what's going to work on Meta in UK is going to be very different to what's working on TikTok in the US. So again, people are building out iterations, assuming that it's all going to work everywhere. And it is very much, I don't want to say it's a spray and pray approach, but that's what it can kind of be perceived about. So what we are doing, or what we are ensuring happens with the studios that we work with, is that we're leveraging the data that tells us what's worked successfully with that specific unique audience, and then again, building out iterations for that audience.
Final question for you here, Sam, and perhaps one that's hard hitting because it's like the age-old question of like balancing AI with the human element. So AI is now capable, as we all know, of creating iterations in minutes, sometimes even seconds, let's be honest. So how do you see the balance shifting between sort of creative manual input and AI-driven automation within the performance marketing process?
So actually, I genuinely do love that question, because I think what we're seeing now is that, yes, AI can make iterations or just new creatives within minutes. It can. And prior to this, there was a creative constraint where the creative team, they couldn't make enough ads or whatever it might be in order for the user acquisition to test. What's now happening is that we're making iterations, but essentially, to put it bluntly, we're building garbage, and we're shifting the challenge. We're shifting the issue down from the creatives to user acquisition, because now they've got too many creatives to actually test. So we think that the balance is very much in between that. It's not really about rapid iteration. By all means, it is about speed to market, but it's actually about intelligent iteration. So making sure that you're actually iterating for the right user at the right time, not just blindly.
Right. So using AI, but making sure you're using it effectively.
Absolutely.
Fantastic stuff, Sam. Thank you so much for your time here today, and watch this space. We're really excited to see what Black Box does next.
It's a pleasure to be here. It was.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.